Oilers only had 2 power plays. It seems like they had more. But they had more than that.
Thanks, Claire. Nope, I'm good like that. All right, welcome to the GCL Diesel Oil Stream post-game show, live on location, Hudson's Bourbon. Great vibe in here. Unfortunately, the Edmonton Oilers couldn't add to it. Tom Gazzola, Derek Van Dies from NHL.com joining. Hernan Salas back at ESTHQ and ready to go. Our game analyst, Brad Malone, as the Oilers fall 4-1 to the Dallas Stars. A lot to get to in this one. Of course, text us 780-218-9999 and get into the nasty chat as we break it all down. Edmonton falling to 2-4 on the season, wrapping up this brief 2-game road trip with a 1-1 record, and the Dallas Stars continue to have a strong season, 5-1 on the year. Of course, GCL Diesel, providers of the best diesel engine components around, from turbochargers to injectors, fuel pumps to sensors. They are the critical engine component experts, proud to serve Edmonton and Northern Alberta for over 50 years. DVD, just some initial thoughts on the game as a whole from you. We'll get into the scoring summary and game stats, and then we'll get Bugsy on here.
Yeah, obviously the Oilers. I thought they played well through the first 2 periods. They, you could almost sense it coming too. We've seen this game so many times where they play really well. They have a lot of chances. They're dominating possession, and then they give up a power play, and then they're going to score on this power play goal. It took 3 seconds.
2 seconds.
2 seconds to score on that power play, and that's really deflating when you're playing that well against a team that really had a lot to play for. This is a team that. That Game 6 loss in the playoffs last year stung, and they're probably thinking about this game for a long, long time. And they came out, and they were really outplayed, and I thought the Oilers played a really solid game, but just the finishing part of their game is not there. I think the other aspects of their game are coming along, which is a good sign if you're an Edmonton Oilers fan, and it's just the finishing's not there. Zach Hyman hasn't gone off the schneid yet. There's Nugent Hopkins still hasn't played a little better. Guys have to play a little better. They got to bear down, and Nick Oettinger is making $8 million a year starting next season because he's one of the elite goaltenders in the league, and you saw him shut everything down. But I think if you're the Oilers, you're encouraged by that effort. It's a long season. You're only 5 games in. So I think you're encouraged by that, and you just got to get different aspects of your game going. But there was a lot of good things to like about that game. The result obviously wasn't something to like, but there's something you can build off that, and that's what the regular season is about, is just getting your game better and building off it every game. And I think you have to say that after that terrible start by the Oilers, they are starting to kind of play a lot better and build on things.
A lot of momentum in the first 2 periods. Obviously, that Duchesne goal late in the second, that one hurts. Those last-minute goals, or first and last-minute goals, you hear coaches say they hate those, and understandably so, because it sets up a tougher third period, obviously. Share your thoughts, 780-218-9999. Lots of texts already coming in as the Oilers fall 4-1 to the Dallas Stars. And get into the nasty chat if you're watching on YouTube. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Tom Gazzola, Derek Van Dies, live on location, Hudson's Bourbon Street. Hernan Salas back at ESTHQ. Brad Malone standing by, ready to go to break it all down. Our game analyst filling in for Matt Cassian admirably, I might say. I'm going to start with this text before I get into the game stats. Rob from LA texted in and said, hopefully no one blames goalie. Riding the big line, loaded up, giving them all the power play time and no results. Highest paid players are accountable for this loss and the poor season stats. And I say that, and I read Rob's text because as I'm going through our text line, I'm seeing goalie, Skinner this, Skinner that. And we're obviously going to break it all down and talk about that specific issue with Bugsy in a minute here. But first, let's get into the scoring summary and game stats to recap this one. Matt Duchesne, like we were talking about, 1934 on the power play, off a face-off. Henrique got tied up late, getting to Duchesne, who got the puck right off the draw. Rupe Hintz winning it clean to him. Duchesne is able to walk in, and he snaps one past the glove of Stuart Skinner. That one, I got a lot of texts from people, just friends watching the game, being like, oh, like Skinner, Skinner that, Skinner this. So I'm curious to see what Brad has to say about one. Duchesne is a very lethal offensive player. Even to this day, he's been in the league for a decade. But I'm curious to hear what Bugsy's going to say, and I'm gonna pass it off to him shortly here. In the third period, Matt Duchesne would get his second of the night, third of the season at 12:06 from Mason Marchment and Blackwell, and that was on a fall at the offensive zone blue line by Evan Bouchard, leads to a 2-on-1 the other way. Matthias Ekholm overcommits. To me, it seemed like at least to Marchment, and he gets it over to Duchesne, who slides it home to make it 2-0. Later in the period at 13:16, it would be Rope Hintz making it 3-zip, his third of the year from Stankoven and Robertson. Some good work down low. After the Oilers got a chance at the other end, I might add. And then it was Henrique that I think hit the corner, and Hintz was left all alone. He snapped it by Stu Skinner. But before the period was up, Leon Draisaitl gave the team a little bit of hope and scored his third of the season from Nugent Hopkins and McDavid, 3-1 at that point. But less than 30 seconds later, Jason Robertson into the empty net to make it 4-1. Stankoven, his 7th assist of the year, and Hintz, the other helper. That is your final shots on goal, 31-24 in favor of the Oilers. Edmonton once again rock solid on the faceoff dot on average, 62.9% to 37.1. They lose that crucial draw on the PK, and Duchesne got the first goal. The power play is an issue. We're going to talk about that with Brad Malone. It goes 0 for 2 tonight. That was something Bugsy pointed out on Game Changers. And then the Dallas Stars power play goes 1 for 1, so the PK leaks one again. And the team totals, as Bugsy was talking about earlier in the day, killing the Oilers on special teams. Hits 23-10 in favor of the Stars. Block shots 22-11 in favor of the Stars. Giveaways 19 for Edmonton, 15 for Dallas. Takeaways 9 for the Stars to 7 for the Oilers. The big numbers that matter: 4 for Dallas, 1 for Edmonton. Keep those texts coming in, 780-218-9999. Okay, let's bring them in. Brad Malone standing by. He's ready to go. Bugsy, you talked about face-offs. You talked about special teams. We saw a defensive zone breakdown on a 2-on-1. We saw the third goal was a D-zone breakdown as well. After the Oilers, I thought, had a lot of great momentum in the first two periods. You start where you want and tell me what was issue number one for the Oilers in your opinion.
I mean, I don't know if it's an issue or just timely mistakes or timely opportunities taken advantage of by Dallas. I mean, those right up until that penalty was drawn by Dallas, I really thought we controlled most of the game. Few shifts that I thought maybe got away from us defensively. But I was happy with our game. I thought this was a game that we needed to have. Again, you look at go back to the last time I was on against Philly. Same type of circumstance. Dallas just packs the house in defensively in their D zone, keeps everything to the outside, willingness to block shots, just makes things really difficult for those skill forwards to penetrate such a tight-knit five-man unit inside in front of their net. And, you know, we're starting to see results of a frustrated offense on our side. And certainly, you know, when we talk about momentum and when I test, it looks like Edmonton should be winning all of these games.
Do you want to jump in, DVD?
Yeah,
with
Brad.
Bugsy?
Yeah, Brad. Good talking to you. I just want to ask you about, as a former player, when you outplay a team as bad as you do, and then you give up a goal, how deflating is that, and how tough is that to kind of come back from?
I'd say not with that veteran group. I think, you know, there's got to be a lot of belief in that room that they're able to put one in the net. I think now in the playoffs, if that's the circumstance, it might be a little different. But this early in the season, I think there's a lot of belief in that room that they can find one. But going back to how we talked before the game, Ottinger just kind of crept into their head all night, whether there wasn't any high grade A danger chances from Edmonton, but the ones they did get, he stood steady. And then the rest of it, like I just mentioned, just staggering defense by Dallas, just a committed five-man unit everywhere. It's not pretty. It's not easy to watch if you're a Dallas fan, but certainly the results are there.
We talked about it as well with Mike Heika, Stars reporter, and I was talking about how Dallas came into this game 2.6 goals for per game. That's not a lot. It's towards the bottom of the league in terms of offensive output. and then they were averaging 1.6 allowed per game. And, Heika kind of said, well, you got Ottinger back there, and the team defense generally has been pretty good. And we had people, and obviously, our listeners and viewers are looking at it from an Oilers point of view. And I had someone saying, goaltending, and then the offense can't score. They're being stymied. And Brad, you've been talking about it as well. And I said, very true. I don't disagree. But this seemed like a Dallas Stars game, at least an early season Dallas Stars game, where the numbers outside of the empty netter line up with their offensive output that they've been getting and the defensive efforts that have been leading to minimal goals against. So this seems like a prototypical Dallas Stars game.
Yeah, the stats, now that I'm kind of getting into some development and hockey stuff, just like 3 things that we emphasize with our organization. Goal or giveaway differential -7, hits differential -13, block shots differential -10. So when you look at those stats, grit stats or just commitment stats or discipline, however you want to look at it, Dallas won those statistical categories. Besides faceoffs, really, obviously it tells that Edmonton had the puck a lot more, but also just the willingness for them to do that. And you go back and look at that game against Philly that we won to, break that goose egg to get that win in the column. Same type of story. Philly just had that type of mentality and attitude that it was going to take this type of effort to win. And no different for Dallas. That's the way they know they're going to have to play to win. And, they got a full 18 guys that are willing to do it.
Yeah, and they got the job done. That's why they're 5-1. Tom Gazzola, DVD, Derek Van Dies from HL.com, live on location at Hudson's Bourbon Street at West Edmonton Mall. Brad Malone with us as our analyst, doing great as always. I think, Brad's got a future in broadcasting if he wants it.
I think he does, yes.
After getting out of coaching, if he doesn't stick around in that regard.
The money's not great, Brad, though. I'm going to tell you that.
It's not as good as being a player or getting into upper management, that's for sure.
Right.
Yeah, and then Hernan Salas back at EST HQ. All right, let's go into some of the texts after the Oilers fall 4-1. I'll just read this one. EA texted in last game that the Oilers lost. Actually, last game that the Oilers lost. He said, once again, Oilers need a goalie. And then today, EA texting in, Oilers need a goalie. Mike in Thunder Bay texting in saying, Tommy, you said in the afternoon the afternoon game curse was over. Lies. Seriously, where's the offense? I know it's only 6 games, but the inability to finish is very frustrating. We're starting to hear that a lot from Oilers fans, and I don't disagree. Shaggy in St. Albert says, the Oilers played a good road game through the first 2 periods, but then Skinner let them down again and then just gave up in the third. Ken say the supposed leaders have not shown up for the beginning of the season. The role players have shown up, but McDavid, Draisaitl, Nuge, Hyman, and Bouchard have failed this team. 2 wins, and they're back to their apathetic play. Anybody calling out McDavid and Draisaitl? That's signed by Shaggy and St. Albert, who adds the coach killers. Okay, I'm going to pass that grenade off to Bugsy. Shaggy in St. Albert, yeah, here, I'm just going to chuck it to you. Shaggy in St. Albert wants this team to dig in all the time, and he's a demanding fan, and understandably so, and he's critical of the team. So I usually enjoy his texts, and he's not afraid to share his opinion. So, Bugsy, what would you say to Shaggy in regard to the leadership and the goaltending and this and that?
All right, I'll start with goaltending because we talked about it in the opening segment. I just think Stu played a good game. I thought he made a lot of big saves when he needed to. He wasn't called upon early. I thought the penalty kill goal that was given up, I thought that was a bit of a flash screen. To me, I know on the broadcast, but it looked like there was a deflection off of something. It looked like it changed direction. That's how it dropped below his glove. Besides that, those 2 other 5-on-5 goals, the 2-on-1, that's Boosh loses an edge, great pickup, and then an incredible play. Ekholm's in the right position, gets back and plays that as a 2-on-2 perfectly. Stu's square to the shot. Really, there's nothing you can do. You just got to tip your cap to that be an NHL caliber goal. And then the third goal, when I watched it live, I was like, oh, that's bad coverage. Stetcher leaving the front of the net to chase behind the net.
Yeah.
And I was like, where's the low forward? And when you go back and look, Henrique gets picked by the ref coming off, supporting Darnell on the wall. So when you go back and look at that, if that game stays at 2-0, with that, like you get that 2-1 goal, or even it changes. With that third goal really changed momentum for the club. Now you go back about scoring goals. We're going to see this type of defensive posture from a lot of teams. People are not willing to skate with this group. They're not willing to outskill this group. Their game plan is going to be to pack it in, play a gritty defense, each shots, and just survive and just counter offense with, good defensive play. And I think that's the nature of where things are going. I think the neutral zone is, however you want to play it, is what it is. But defensively in zone, teams are getting away from a lot of movement within their structure and just keeping it tight and just allowing teams to have pressure on the outside. And that's something that, it's an organizational choice, but certainly something that should be looked at more.
Okay, I'm watching that second goal again. Bugsy, I thought Ekholm overplayed. I said it earlier. I thought Ekholm overcommitted to the one side. Bouchard scrambled to get back a little bit and actually had a chance to redirect the puck, but the Stars were able to keep possession of it. Would you have liked to have seen Ekholm stay in the middle more and treat it as a 2-on-1 as opposed to a 2-on-2? And then a nice pass too by Marchment through the legs of Ekholm. As I'm watching, I've got a loop of the replay happening here, so I'm just kind of breaking it down as I go.
Yeah, to me, I don't know. I think if Eki kind of slides over on that really gives that backdoor option all the time in the world. I think with Bouch losing the edge, he's got to kind of play the percentages and just kind of back off and let Bouch use his feet. I know if he takes that shot, Stu has that angle. That's a dead angle on that shot. It's just an incredible pass, in my opinion.
Okay, that goal late in the period, we hear the coaches talk about those goals and they get frustrated and they kind of pause before they give their answer. Post-game after a loss is fresh in their minds. As a player, whether you're on the ice on a late goal or you're on the bench and it's a late goal against, what's it like for you when you're going through that?
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating, obviously. I think, up to that point, we really carried momentum. I think, I feel for Stetch sitting in the box. He's played so well. He's taken on a big role and really thrived in that position. And the tripping call on Robertson, it was his foot. It looked like, right? That tripped him when he was going behind the net. Obviously nothing is – it is what it is on that situation. But, at that point, I think Nuge was 21 for 23 on faceoffs going into that position. I don't want to be critical, but I guess since they didn't hire me, I can say maybe I would have put a right-handed center out for that draw, knowing that I'd like to maybe have a right-handed strong side center on that face-off, just knowing the situation in the game and the state of the penalty kill. But for what it's worth, I mean, that Dutchy's got a hell of a release, and to me, I don't know. You can maybe look at the replay. You can pull it up. I thought it hit Nursey or something and changed direction.
Stu, see, there you go. There's the critical thinking. Right shot, centerman, strong side. They have Derek Ryan, but
that's why he's there.
That's why he's there, exactly. And that's why they covet another right shot centerman, bigger body. That's why Noah Philp was so alluring to them after having a great training camp. And so I like that point by Bugsy.
No, it's a good point, and I think you're right. I thought it hit something as well because either that or the shot didn't come off cleanly off the stick, and it was almost like an off-speed shot. It was off the post and in, so it was a perfectly placed shot. But you're right, it didn't have that zip on it, and I think it might have been, for whatever reason, took some speed off it, whether you're right, whether it hit a stick going through or it wasn't shot cleanly. But I want to ask you your thoughts, Brad. What are you seeing on the power play right now? They're throwing the puck around, but not getting anything to the net, really.
Yeah, well, I thought in the second opportunity, I thought they really decided, even Nuggy taking a 1T from up top. That's right. Even on the broadcast, they brought that up. I think just in that circumstance, they're really, obviously they're getting frustrated. To me, people are saying time for the second power play unit and all this bullshit. No way am I, throwing two aces away to put on two kings in a game of poker. These guys are there for a reason. They're possessing pucks. And now if they were going up and down the ice and just practicing their breakouts, it'd be a different story. But their puck possession and handling time and they're in the zone the whole 2 minutes. So they're winning faceoffs, they're possessing things, they're running their sets. Again, these penalty kills, they're just packing it in. They're not doing the traditional push down that Edmonton's doing. They're going into the diamond box look and just compressing the zone. And that's, again, these guys, they live on seaming these penalty kills. And now that isn't as available, you got to use the low ice, which is Hymes.
All right, we saw Bugsy bringing the Latino heat flavor to it. Nan, so I expected you to drop a BS, but Bugsy taking it before you could get to it. What do you think of the game, and what do you got for Hernan?
Well, I'm glad he did it because our boss is not going to yell at him, right? So
no, of course not.
No.
That was good. We let the S-bomb slide every now and then.
Same sentiment as I think as many. I'm not overreacting either. Of course you want that first goal back. You want the Oilers, who dominated the first two periods, to have a goal, and it's unfortunate, right? Like, and for everybody blaming Skinner, man, I mean, the Oilers scored one goal. I'm sorry, but, you scored one goal when you were dominating this team. At one point in the second period, Dallas had 4 shots, Tommy. We were standing there 30 minutes in. They had 4 freaking shots, and the Oilers had 0 goals. So, the power play's got to get going. You don't want Dallas to score, who was probably one of the worst power plays coming into this game, and they score 5 seconds into theirs. So it's a little bit unfortunate, but for once, I'm not overreacting. I think the Oilers played a hell of a game. They just couldn't they couldn't beat Ottinger. And Ottinger, that's why he got paid the big bucks earlier this week, because this guy can steal you games, and he stole a game today in the first 40 minutes. And for me, everybody's picking on Skinner and certain players and all this. Yes, the power play's got to shape up. They got to get better, of course, the PK as well. But for me, Stewie Skins and Brad and DVD think it was deflected. Sure, I got to look at it again. But outside of that, you're not going to win many games, guys, scoring 1 goal. So I think we need to pump the brakes on the Oilers need a goalie, and the Oilers need that. The Oilers are going to look back and look at those first 40 minutes and say, guys, we had them. We were the better team. We were dominating them. Absolutely dominating them. They had 4 shots 30 minutes in. So for me, it's unfortunate. You don't want this team to be 2-4. They're far too talented to be at that record. But tonight showed me that this team can roll with anyone. They're a little bit snake bitten. You see Zach Hyman, 2 glorious chances. He just can't beat Ottinger. Usually he buries those, right? And Brad brought up the Nuge shot there. Yeah, it was a great shot. It was a great look. But at the end of the day, it's just one of those games where they couldn't find the goal. Ottinger made some key saves, and unfortunately for the Oilers, they just couldn't pull it out. But for me, it's not the end of the world. They didn't play bad, guys. They played well I'd say for most of the game, outside of those quick stretches there that they gave up a few goals late.
Podkolzin had an opportunity right before the second Duchesne goal, too, where the fourth line was generating. I think there was a good keep-in by Derek Ryan. He got it down to Perry. I think it was Perry to Podkolzin, and he got stopped by Ottinger as well. And then, a minute later, if that, the Stars go down and get that second goal to extend the lead. 780-218-9999. Let's get to some texts. If you have any questions or concerns, comments about the team's game, you want to bounce off of Bugsy or DVD or myself, fire those our way. To those watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up. Big Uke texting in. Big Uke says, the effort on the second Dallas goal was embarrassing. Ekholm completely abandoned the trailer, went to pick the carrier as well. McDavid turned it over off an awful back pass, then coasted and didn't take the trailer. Awful effort on that one. Thanks. I'll hang up and listen. We went over that one with Bugsy.
Yep.
Unless you want to add anything else, Bugsy, to what Big Uke had to say to that.
I mean, okay. You can maybe break down that the puck came off of Connor's stick, but you don't get 100 assists by not attempting a high-level pass. They're down 1-0. They're feeling the pressure. He sees something. Obviously, it was there, and it's just an unfortunate bounce. But again, I just think you got to tip the cap. That pass that he made was Leon-like. I just think for me, it's one of those days where you outplayed a team. If you're going to give up goals, you probably don't want to give them up within 2 minutes of each other on the road. just momentum built. And like I talked about in those U.S. buildings, once it gets going, it really doesn't stop. So, again, not going to say it's a learning lesson. I think it's a good belief in that room that they can do it. Now it's just about doing it for a full 60 instead of sputtering after 38 minutes.
Okay, Dirty Curdy texting in saying, excellent first 38 minutes. Skinner had to make the save on the 40-foot wrister at the end of the second after Nuge loses a D-zone draw. Loading up the top line is more of a liability defensively than it is helpful offensively. Time to change up personnel on the power play and PK. Special teams is dog crap, says Dirty Curdy. And he finishes up with Skinner in for Nuge. Pickard starts next. He gives the Oilers the best chance to win right now. That's an interesting one. Dirty Curdy, not afraid to share his opinion like Shaggy and St. Albert. The personnel on the power play, we're hearing that more and more about, hey, get Jeff Skinner in there instead of Nugent Hopkins. Hey, get Corey Perry in there instead of Zach Hyman. Bugsy, where do you come out on that?
No, just a no.
Just no.
Look, if this was any other league but the NHL in that circumstance, you probably have some guys that are pushing levels. Now, I agree. Could Skins and Pairs play in those positions with their skill set? Yes. But the chemistry that five-man unit has and what they've been able to do over the course of the last 2 years, I'd like someone to just do the math for me and take these 6 games into equation over the last 170 and just tell me what their overall percentage is, and I bet you it's probably still the best in the league. Bad timing. It's again, I'm just going to go back to they're in their zone. They're possessing pucks. They're getting looks. It's just, again, the penalty kill structures in the NHL are starting to change, and people are going to have to get used to lower scoring contests against teams that have adopted this structure.
The Oilers' power play going into action tonight was 1 for 13 on the season. It goes 0 for 2 tonight, so make it 1 for 15 on the year. And Dallas was clicking at, I think it was 5.6%, and they go 1 for 1 on the power play. Brad, I suggested this to Matty Cassian the other night on the post-game show, saying that I think it's kind of like a cat and mouse game between the NHL's penalty kills and the Oilers' power play. And it feels like the teams that face the Oilers and their PKs have kind of caught up and caught on to what some of the tendencies of the Oilers might be. Cass didn't necessarily agree. Actually, he flat out said no to me. What would you say to that suggestion?
Well, for me, just being just out of the game and the structure that, we're even still teaching, a lot of the available ice with these new penalty kills is on the top of the umbrella. So Boosh and then your 2 half-wall flank guys. And there's not much of a seam anymore because those 2D are flexing out, and it's really basically 3-on-3 up top with a 2-on-1 down low. So unless you are willing to give up the puck as basically your top 3 players and get it down towards that net and bring people and bodies there and win those dirty areas, it's going to be difficult to score the pretty goal. And those guys are used to being able to do that and throwing it through seams. And eventually, they're going to probably have to come to a reality that they're going to have to start throwing some pucks and throwing it away a bit and being able to get it back. But I remember when we first saw this penalty kill in Bakersfield and Grand Rapids adopted it, and we had no idea what to do for a full weekend series against these guys. It's a very uncomfortable position to be in because you have time and space, but they're taking a lot of the lanes away, just the way things are scattered. And it fits perfectly into killing a 1-3-1 that the Oilers usually run the whole time. So for me, that's what I've seen playing and now as well coaching. It's certainly it's frustrating trying to teach and to figure out a way to beat this.
That's a good point about taking it with the lanes. And then I love that you bring it back to an example and situation that you went through, because someone here, I think it was Adam who lives in China, is back in town. He came down to watch here at Hudson's Bourbon Street, and he goes, there was a moment where McDavid had the puck on the power play, and he was just kind of standing there, and he was looking for it, like looking for that next pass, and it was almost like he didn't know what to do. And Bugsy, I feel like what you just pointed out is an example of that. Would that be fair?
Yeah, you're instead of the pressure kill like Edmonton kind of approaches with the top two forwards always pressuring the top guy in the flank. Now they just leave him out there with time and space, and you're like, well, what's going on? And if you don't move, they don't move, and you need the other four guys on the unit to move and change angles and create triangles around their diamond. So there's certainly strategies out there. You can go look at Washington's power play. I've certainly seen some film of that over the summer that they kind of attack. But no, listen, it's a whole new adjustment. You look at Ovi's success, like the start of last year, it's a very easy coverage for that D on that weak side now, just because that is his cover man, really. And it's just a willingness to block shots. If you have guys that are willing to stay in those lanes, it's very difficult to penetrate.
780-218-9999 is the number to text in as the Oilers fall 4-1 to the Dallas Stars. It is the GCL Diesel Oil Stream post-game show. Tom Gazzola and Derek Van Diest live on location at Hudson's Bourbon Street. Brad Malone, our game analyst, with us. Hernan Salas holding things down back at EST HQ. Let's go back into the inbox. And Oily Sink says Stuart Skinner needs to do more, make a save, and he should be averaging at least 2 goals per game. Every loss is on him. This was a joke, by the way. So Oily Sink not buying it's Skinner's fault thing. Cal in the Park says, wasn't the goalie, it wasn't Nurse. 97 and 29, making blind back passes and not hustling back. 93 invisible. Third and fourth lines have been looking great. This text coming in, no name on it. Oh, Stanley and YYC. Stanley and YYC says, goaltending was the difference in this game. Their goalie made numerous 10-bell saves, and ours sunk us on the first Dallas power play goal. That should have been stopped. Yes, the big guns didn't put up points, and the Oilers made defensive mistakes, but goaltending was the difference. Again, that text coming in from Stanley in YYC. Okay. Lee just says, do we have to go to Pickard next game? You played with him a lot, Bugsy. What would you say in terms of the goaltending against Carolina on Tuesday night?
Look, Cal's very capable of obviously playing in the NHL and, giving the team a chance to win. But for me, obviously I'm not in the room, but I would assume that it was probably a scheduled start for Stu, and the way he played, he deserves to play again, in my opinion. Carolina, again, we're going to run into an aggressive penalty kill, a little more aggressive in that structure. Their power play is a shooting mentality. I think for me, both goalies are going to get they're going to be busy, either one. It's going to be a lot more traffic around our own net, and it's going to be a big test in that area. But again, like, non-issue, I can't emphasize it enough, non-issue on the goaltending for us. I just wanted to make a comment when you were reading that.
Yep.
When I was with the Oilers, it was always, we have the best top 6, the bottom 6 suck. That's why we're losing. And now it's the top, but the bottom 6 are great, the top 6. I'm like, okay, guys, look, it's always a dark side on one side of the 6 or the other, eh? Like, jeez.
Welcome to this side of the game, Bugsy.
Like, what is going on? Can't we just be like, yeah, we lost. We didn't deserve to lose, but we did, and we'll still be in the playoffs and probably play them. Like, I don't know. That's Stu's first regular season game. I know he didn't play last year in Dallas all year. Skins got all those games. So, yeah, I mean, whatever. Like, we'll be fine.
The answer to your question is, can we not just look at it as a loss? Is no. There's always got to be blame, and we always need to break it down to the very minutia. So but you're right. Good point. It was always a bottom 6, terrible, top 6, great, and now it's kind of reversed. But I say this. Oilers fans love the team very much, and they want to find solutions. So that's why we get to do this. And
I love it.
You got to live it from the team's point of view. Now you get to see it on the media side where you're like, well, what about this? What about that? So it's a different beast altogether. And I hope you're enjoying it because you're doing great.
It's great. No, it's great. I just I got to give the banter back. I got to be.
Yes.
I think for me, again, just it's gonna be. I said it when I was there, and I can say it here. When the Edmonton Oilers show up in town, everybody knows they're in town, and that's not just the fans. It's also the guys in the room. They're going to get the other team's best every night. So that's going to be that was probably Dallas's best defensive game all year. You got to get used to playing that. If you get that over an 82 game schedule, when it comes to playoffs and things matter, these guys are going to be able to elevate to another level because the level that they've been running all year is just higher than everyone else. And
Fair point. They're 5-1.
That goes back to my point of even when we used to play Pittsburgh in the Metro. Every time we showed up, we were a bottom feeder team, and it didn't matter. We were out of the game in the first 10 minutes. Just Sid and those guys just decided, hey, you're not even able to keep up with us right from the puck, drop of the puck. And to me, that's what I want Edmonton to do. I want them to start taking games over in the first 10 minutes and just make it a non-negotiable that the other team on the other side has no choice but to chase the rest of the night.
Yeah, that would be nice. I've had this conversation before where I go, why can't Oilers fans have nice things? Why does it always have to be so difficult? DVD, go ahead.
Well, winning's not easy, right? And it's not easy, I think, coming back from a devastating season like that last year, the said devastating loss. But, Brad, I was going to ask your opinion. I was talking here to some people, and I thought different aspects of the game are getting better as far as the Oilers go. And at first, the first 3 games, they didn't have really anything going. But now, they're starting to kind of get their game back, and it's not a switch you can flip. I don't think. Are you encouraged by the fact that they are, now they got to get the power play going, they got to get some scoring going, but they are getting better at different aspects of the game, and then you kind of look at this season and you break it down in segments after 10 games. Where are we after 10 games? I think, and to me, that's kind of where you have to look at it. How do you see the fact that they are getting better in different parts of the game?
Yeah, I think it's encouraging that the additions that they made, although maybe not resulting in goals for, really at this point in terms of massive numbers, but I think the ability and the scoring chances that they're generating are very high. They're just not converting on them. And that would be a statistic that's very easy to see, the high danger chances that they're creating. Those numbers are going to change. They're going to come up to league average and probably above. And then 5-on-5 play defensively has been very strong as well. I think the guys that bought into structure, they're not giving up a ton of grade A's, giving up a lot of exterior opportunities. It's just about, cleaning up the front of the net, which I think since that game in Philadelphia, they have done that. So I think for me, the positive in this is that the things they needed to work on the offseason, they've improved on and are building on. And the things that they were good at are just, a little slow to get cooking again. And that's something that we know they're capable of. That's, they didn't lose their magic overnight. This isn't Space Jam.
Yeah, you're going to fit into the media side of things just fine, Brad Malone. Let's go to the nasty chat. Couple here. One specifically for Brad. I'll start with Chris Brown, though, first. Says, I want the McDavid of 60-plus goals, not the passer version who doesn't shoot. We have to point out that McDavid did put up 100 assists last year. And then Ro Nelson says, hey, Bugsy, what does it do to a farm system's vibe when the team values $4,000 a day and accrual, then giving its own $775,000 like Lavoie a job as a 13th forward and brings in outside guys like Podkolzin on the 4th line? I think that's a great question from Ro Nelson. And Brad, you've lived it. You experienced it. So did you get that question? You know what Ro Nelson's getting at there?
Yeah, I do. As a leader down there and just an older guy that, was maybe at one point a call-up and then eventually lost that, which I was completely fine with. I loved my life down there. But watching those other guys go through that, it's just a very early introduction into that this game is a business and that your performance matters. It's not personal. Certainly, I think the way that they treated us in Bakersfield as an organization through Edmonton was first class. I don't think We didn't feel secondary, certainly the way that communication and in terms of that. But yeah, I mean, I guess I did write down on my notes just like organizational depth. Like Stankoven, Blumel, and Bork were all in Austin last year. They all played tonight and, made a factor in the game. So, for me, I think, you scratch out Skins. Really, who else has played in Bakersfield in the last 5 years on that team?
Bouchard, kinda. Right? There's the COVID year where he was here the whole time.
Yeah. So, other than that, I think, it was touched on in periods or whatever about them reinvesting in the depth and the organization as a whole and prospects. I think there are people down there already that can contribute. And if things do happen, instead of separating and alienating one guy to say, hey, you're our next guy up, you put everyone down in the farm and let the best man win down there. And I think for me, competition is good. I think, losing Lavi is probably a very big blow to the organization and certainly someone that we, love down there with us, and he's got a great future ahead of him. But, there's another way to look at it, that if you got all those 12 forwards down there, when someone calls and someone's ready to get called up, you're going to know who's the best player available and for that situation. Like if a top 6 forward goes down, Savvy's probably getting called up. If it's a bottom 6, you're probably looking at a James Hamlin or a Noah Philp or a Drake Gazzola. And so, you got a lot of options down there that are valuable NHL pieces. And I think it's just if you can acquire that AAV over the course of whatever it is, 4 or 5 months, and then add a bigger piece because of their value in a trade, I think it's the right play and the right call by the organization. I think the guys in Bakersfield understand that, and it helps that we're in California and get the golf every day. So no complaints.
That's a great answer. That's a great answer. Good question from Ro Nelson via the Nasty Chat. All right, we got a couple more minutes with Brad Malone as we break down the Oilers' 4-1 loss to the Dallas Stars. Edmonton now 2-4 on the season. Donnie M says, are McDavid and Nugent Hopkins back to their old lazy ways of not picking up the third man coming in? Library Pat texting in says, they scored only 1 goal, Tommy. They aren't going to win many without more scoring. Ottinger was the difference today, not Skinner. That's Stewart. Library Pat also said, looked like the first goal did get deflected off of 25 stick. Derek Van Dies and Brad Malone did mention they thought that there was a change on the way the puck's flight went in past the glove of Stu Skinner. SJ not in the Kootenays texting and says, Dallas is good, so no real shame losing. Concerning to me that they are inexplicably playing 97 and 29 together 5 games in, and they have done 0 5-on-5. And then Ryan in Saskatchewan says they're shooting 5% on the year at 5-on-5. That'll correct itself. Getting chances. Twitter Mary says, can we pretend like there's a secret word and someone call me and pretend I've qualified for the flyaway trip so I can be happy for a hot minute? Sad Oilers face emoji. Twitter Mary. All right, Bugsy, let's take a look ahead to this game against the Carolina Hurricanes. The Oilers have a couple days of rest after their first road trip of the season. I don't think that they're staying behind in Dallas, although I think that would be a tremendous treat if they did because they have the extra day. But you get the Canes coming in here Tuesday. You face the Penguins on Friday, so it's a quiet week for the Oilers. How do they approach the Hurricanes after this road trip, and what do you anticipate on Tuesday night?
I'd anticipate Stu back in the net. Nothing against Picks. I think his bounce back in Nashville was great, and obviously something probably he's very proud of. But I looked for Skins in the net. I'd look for 97 and 29 to be together again. Everyone's forgetting that play that tied the game up 3-3 from Leon to Connor to Bush. So this happened a few games ago. Listen, these guys are going to be fine. I just know the way Carolina plays. Rod Brindamore had him as a coach. They're going to be relentless. It's going to be the same style of game that Philly tried to portray in Edmonton. It's going to be a gritty down low game in our D zone. They're going to pack it in defensively, and they're going to skate and work and really not give too many pucks away for free. And, that's one thing I would say if we're going to go back over just those small stats, just the giveaways. You start eliminating those giveaways for Edmonton, clean that area up, and I think the skill will take over.
The Hurricanes have a 2-1 record. They currently lead St. Louis 1-0 with 12 minutes left in the first period in St. Louis. Hey, Brad Malone, cheers to you. What a fantastic debut this week on the pre- and post-game show. I'll have a drink of that for sure. 6 o'clock lager here at Hudson's Bourbon Street. Oh, that's good stuff. That is good stuff. Bugsy, if we need to call on you, are you up for it? I know we kept you late the other day.
No, it was good. I mean, as long as you're getting good feedback, and I'll maybe refrain from the profanity here, but
no, don't.
I need
like
it.
it.
I can do a really good old school impression, but earmuffs.
Earmuffs. Yes, exactly. No, you're crushing it, and good job today, my friend. We really appreciate it, and whenever we need you, we're going to call upon you because it's a fantastic insight, a unique perspective. And I think if it doesn't work out on the hockey upside, you could be a broadcaster.
I'm just waiting for Bob to just get hired into upper management, and I'll take his job.
We've been waiting 10 years for that as well.
Bugsy with the mic drop. Oh, too good. Brad Malone, thank you, sir. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
See you, boys. Good luck tonight.
Oh, my goodness. How good was that?
God,
you
that was
love
awesome.
that. Oh,
Just
stop.
for reference, Bob's been telling us that he's going to be upper management for the last 12 years. So
I may have heard that once or
we're
twice.
still waiting on that to happen.
Yeah,
so
Brad. That's so good.
he's going to be our bosses one day, he tells us.
The feedback has been really good for Brad
That was
in
awesome.
his 2 games that he's worked pre- and post-games. So good. We're very fortunate to have him, and I'm so glad he actually responded to me and said, yes, I'd like to do it. So tip of the cap. Cheers to Brad Malone. So good. A great addition to the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pre- and post-game show. Keep those texts coming in, 780-218-9999. And then in the nasty chat, Ro Nelson, great question. I think Bugsy gave a fantastic answer to that one. If you have anything else, comments, critiques, obviously, people have been upset about the goaltending today. They don't like the lack of production, especially with McDavid Draisaitl loaded up on the same line. I think that's understandable. And then the PP and PK struggling, to be honest with you. The PK 0-for-1, power play 0-for-2 tonight.
Well, I think there's something to be said where teams aren't just going to let your power play roll over you. They're going to study it and look at it and develop ways. This game is always evolving. It's about evolving, and you're right. I think it is a game of chess where, okay, let's try this on the penalty kill, see if it works, and then the Oilers have to come back and say, okay, we're not getting those passes, those crossing tap-ins. The teams are looking for that. So I do think that if you get a chance, the thing about the power play, and Connor McDavid, we've talked to him about this extensively. He said the proudest thing he thought about the power play was that they would get pucks back, their retrieval. That's what he was liking most about their power play. We talked about, you guys are scoring 1 every 3 power plays. It's the retrieval, and we're not seeing the retrieval like we used to see it before. And I think that's one of those things. And then sometimes you do got to load it up, throw it at sticks, throw it at in front of the net, and then get to that rebound first and then find it, retrieve it, and kind of create a havoc in that regard. They're trying to score pretty goals on the power play. They're trying to score highlight reel goals on the power play. They have before, of course, but sometimes you got to muck it up and you got to get in there. You got to get dirty, and I think that's the issue right now. And and I think that's the thing is like the Oilers have to go look at that power play and say, okay, we have to kind of counter what the penalty kills are doing in the league, because once something is successful, everyone's going to adopt it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing that they're going to see. If this team was successful at killing off your penalties, then the next team is going to do the same thing. The next team's going to do the same thing. So the Oilers have to kind of adopt and develop something else. And, whatever it is they come up with, they have a lot smarter guys than they do in that room. They'll figure something out. They're nuts, I guess. They'll figure something out. But I think that's what it is. You always have to stay a step ahead of everybody else.
I like how Brad discussed the PK that we're seeing against and utilized on the Oilers, and how it looks like Edmonton is still having a rough time adjusting its power play to create those opportunities and those goals, quite frankly. And Bugsy, who was a penalty killer, I should add, Bugsy made the team out of camp 2 years ago.
Yeah.
He started the season, played 10 games for the Oilers, so he's had a fresh perspective. He even talked about how Grand Rapids was using the same PK we saw Dallas employ tonight against the Condors, and he said that it threw them into all kinds of fits. and they had to figure out ways around it. And his answer was the simplicity.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to
pucks
get. Sometimes you have to simplify things. Sometimes you overthink things. You have to simplify it. You got one of the biggest shots in the league at the point. You're gonna have to utilize that a little bit more. Hasn't been enough whoosh bombs, and you got to get in front of the net. You got to win those battles in front of the net, and that's what the Oilers have to do a little bit more. And it's just a matter of just, they're getting up to speed in the sense of their urgency. We talked earlier in the year. We talked to Coach Noblock was so honest when we asked him about, hey, is your team playing with enough desperation? Are they playing with enough urgency? Are they doing enough? And he says, no, we're not, and we're not there yet. We're not playing with the intensity that we should be playing that we need to be playing at. And we've talked about this before. Brad was right about every team is going to be up to play against the Oilers.
Yes.
They're going to be up for this team. They're going to get every team's best game every night. They're going to work harder than they've worked all year against the Oilers. So the Oilers have to match that intensity level. They have to match that work ethic. They have to match that work rate, and they have to match that desperation. And early on, they weren't doing that. And Coach Noblock admitted to that. Darnell Nurse admitted to that. Connor McDavid admitted to that. They got to get that intensity level up and that work rate up.
Fair enough. Well said, DVD. Okay, we're going to get to the turning point of the game. We do have some post-game interviews ready to go, and then Hernan will give us the player of the game. Of course, the turning point of the game, presented by Advantage Sports Medicine and Physiotherapy. At Advantage Sport Medicine and Physiotherapy, they treat you like the pros. Their multidisciplinary team includes sports medicine physicians, along with highly skilled physiotherapists, strength and conditioning coaches, and massage therapists. Whether you're recovering from an injury or looking to enhance performance, they treat you like a pro, using the same locker room approach trusted by the best in the game. And I have to say, I wanted to go to the second Duchesne goal, but I think the turning point was the first Duchesne goal late in the second period when the Oilers were on the PK. It was like a 2-second bang-bang play right off the draw. Hintz, Duchesne just walks in. You heard Bugsy talking about it. Henrique gets caught up with the ref, slow getting over. Duchesne can just walk in, and then we looked at it a couple times, and we think it hit Darnell Nurse, and there was a slight change in direction on the puck. Bottom line is it goes in. You don't get the save. You don't get the draw. The puck goes in. It gives Dallas that power play goal. The PK lets you down again. It's late in the period. I thought, with the way things were going very well for the Oilers, they were all over the Stars in the shot department. They were all top of the Stars when it came to overall momentum. And Dallas gets that goal, opportunistic and skill. Obviously, that pays off. Hard work, determination. They got it. To me, that was the turning point of the game, because all of a sudden you go from, hey, we're playing good. We got these guys where we want them. We just need to break through, to, damn it, we're chasing the game. And Dallas adds another one, midway through the third, and all of a sudden the faith and the hope and the momentum, goodwill, whatever you built up in the first 45, 50 minutes, gone.
No, you're absolutely right. I think I agree with you there, because the Oilers, the thing is that we've seen this story so many times before, when the Oilers get a ton of chances and they aren't able to break through, and you just know the other team's going to throw the puck on the net, it's going to bounce in. So we've seen it time and time and time again, and it happened again. The one power play, the worst power play in the league, Edmonton's really, and they get a goal 2 seconds into the penalty.
Yes,
it's okay, really, for real. And you're right. If they go into that third period tied 0-0, and they got to kill the last minute of that power play, whatever it is, minute 15, and they get okay, let's kill the power play, and then we have the momentum. We keep going. They were playing the perfect game up until that point. And you're right. That was the turning point. And then after that, it kind of builds up. The second goal, you look at the second goal, McDavid gives up the puck. And you give up the puck, you better be the first guy back down the ice.
Yeah, Bouchard blows a wheel.
Yeah, Bouchard blows a wheel. And he wasn't. McDavid kind of coasting there. And he thought, okay, we got 2-on-2. We're in good shape. And obviously they weren't. I didn't like Matthias Ekholm coming over on that play. The guy's not going to score from the goal line. It's one of those things we talked about. A guy comes over to cover a guy at the side of the net, leaves the guy in front of the net open, or didn't even realize the guy was behind him. You got to take a look. You got to take a look behind you. It's like a guy leaving the front of the net, go to the corner, and leave the front of the net open. My nephew's playing defense now. He's playing full ice hockey. I was up at 6 this morning to take him to a hockey game at 8 a.m. I forgot what that was like. That was awesome. But hey, he's playing defense. Protect the house. Number one responsibility. Don't leave the front of the net open. If you're the only guy there, you stay there. Don't go chase a guy in the corner to get the puck.
Usually Matthias Ekholm doesn't make that or doesn't have that arrow. So correctable. Some of the best make it.
Well, there was 3 mistakes on that goal.
Well, compounding mistakes. Yeah. That was a theme last year.
1 mistake, 2 mistakes, 3 mistakes, it's a goal.
Yeah.
And you make 2 mistakes, probably a goal. 3 mistakes is pretty sure a goal.
And we saw that again tonight. All right, let's go to Hernan Salas back at EST HQ. Nanso, some thoughts on things you've seen, some texts and comments, and then I know we want to go inside the room, so cue that up as well.
Yeah, there's Coach Noblock and Zach Hyman, who I thought had his best game of the year for sure. On the night, so on the afternoon. So not much. I mean, same as what you guys are echoing. It's just, a game they dominated for 40 minutes and just a bad goal on the power play there on Skinner. But again, you scored 1 goal, right? And you scored 1 late. So you did. Of course, you want to save. Mm-hmm. Of course, you want Skinner to be more sharp there, but at the end of the day, you only scored 1 goal. You're not going to win many games like that. Yeah, there are opportunities. There are 40 minutes in. They're by far the better team. So and the power play keeps struggling. The PK keeps struggling, like DVD just mentioned. He got scored on within 5 seconds. Enrique kind of late. I'll be honest. I don't think it was deflected. I think that just went straight in, and it's a great play. But Enrique kind of stays by Nurse instead of coming out and maybe closing him down. But at the end of the day, we can sit here and pinpoint what went wrong on that goal. But at the end of the day, it's a 4-1 loss for the Oilers. They're 2-4, and it's not ideal. I don't think anyone, whether it's media or fans or even the Edmonton Oilers organization, is sitting there right now and saying, yeah, we'll turn it around. And I get the optimism, and I get people that are close to the team and all that, but you're 2-4, man. Nashville's 0-5. Enough with the excuse. Well, they'll turn it around eventually. Yeah, sure they will, but will they? I mean, are we going to the same thing we saw last year? It's not going to happen the same, guys. This team's not going to go on a 16-game heater. Those things don't happen. So they played better, of 100%. This is their best 40 minutes I've seen from this team since the playoffs. So I'll throw that in there. Yes, they should have won this game, but they still lost. And that's the big point here. They still lost this game because their PK off a faceoff can defend. Their goalie can't make a save that he should make, and then the wheels fall off. So let's call it how it is. They lost. And as good as they played for 40 minutes, why does that matter at this point? They lost the game 4-1. Build off the first 40 minutes going into Tuesday, sure. But you still lost the game. So for me, a loss is a loss, and we can take all the good out of it that we want. But the power play needs to get going. The PK needs to wake up. Stuart Skinner, I have a hard time being really harsh on him tonight. I didn't like that first goal, I'll be honest. But at the end of the day, you scored 1 goal, guys. And he held you in. And I know Dallas didn't have a lot of shots, and I know Ottinger was way better. But at the end of the day, he let in 3 goals, and it's not all on him. It's not. But this team needs to start buckling down and finding some goals. Nuge, a little bit better today, sure. Hyman, I thought, was around it. I thought he was really good tonight. And I'm kind of leading into what we're going to get into next. And the big boys are flying around, and the bottom 6 was good. But at the end of the day, you still lost.
Right before we go to Hyman, I'm going to just nitpick on your math. The Oilers had a good 39 minutes and 34 seconds.
39 minutes, sure.
Not 40. Let's get it right here. I'm just kidding. I can't. I'm the last person that can correct anyone's math. Nat, so I'm just kidding. A little bit of Latino. He does a little picante there. I like that.
Yeah, it's good.
All right,
we get fired up quickly.
Yeah, he does. All right, Nat.
Ask him about Chile national team.
No, we're not getting into that. We don't have the time.
There's nothing to say.
We don't have the time. Nat, so tee up who we're going to hear from now.
Let's go to Zach Hyman, who I thought had a really good game, his best of the season by far. And here is Oilers forward Zach Hyman.
Yeah, I mean, I thought we played really well 5-on-5. Would like to have been better on those power plays, and then they score the penalty or on their power play. So yeah, just I thought we played really well for those 2 periods there, and couldn't get one by them.
You were all over in front of the net, you individually and as a team. Is it one of those days where you just could have used a bounce to kind of break it open a bit?
For sure. Yeah, I know. I think we're pretty process oriented. So we keep going there. I think we keep getting those chances around the net. They're going to eventually fall. So we can't get frustrated. Just have to keep going there, and they'll go in.
Building off of what Gene said there, the opening 30 minutes, it really felt like you guys controlled the pace of play. What did you think was the turning point where it kind of shifted in their favor?
Well, I mean, we didn't score on our power plays. They scored on their solo one there at the end of the second, so they went into the third with a lead. And then obviously we couldn't capitalize. We had a lot of chances, a lot of looks, but weren't able to beat them until the 6-on-5.
There you go, Zach Hyman. Great minds think alike. That power play goal, he says that was a turning point. There you go. Oilers number 18, Zach Hyman, who Hernan said he liked this game, but the box score says this. Here's his stat line from tonight, Hyman. Donuts across the board offensively, 21:03 time on ice, 4 shots, 1 block shot, and that was Zachary Hyman's
4 shots, he's
tonight.
around the net.
Yeah.
Like, that's where the goals are, right? That's what he's told everyone. He goes around the net. He was around it today. Just couldn't lift the puck a couple of times when they had some chances. So, it'll come. It'll come. Those goal scorers, sometimes it goes dry, but then it comes in bunches. And it's like the ketchup bottle. Sometimes you just got to.
He hit it on the 57. That's the secret.
And then, then it just comes out. So it's like, that's what it is. And so I think he'll be fine. I think the Oilers will be fine. I think they're building back up to where they need to be. Like, it's tough. It's tough to get back where you need to be. And I think they're at the point now where they're like, okay, let's move on. Let's focus on this season. And they're getting there, and they're building on from that. So I think after 10 games, we'll evaluate if they're 5-5, if they're 6-4. I think after 10 games, you start evaluating, go, okay, if they're 2-9-1, then there's a problem.
Oh, there's a big problem if they're 2-9-1.
Yeah.
I still made the Cup final game 7. But, good point. All right, Nancy, where are we going next?
Let's go to Coach Noblock here, following tonight's 4-1 loss.
You guys were able to control the pace of play, and then it shifted a little bit in their favor. What did you think kind of was the turning point?
I thought we were really good at the start of the game. Probably the turning point was right when they had their power play. The first 20 definitely. Our pace was good. They were checking really well, and just couldn't capitalize. We just couldn't get the puck in the net. And we had 2 power play opportunities and had some chances. They didn't go in, and then they get their power play and they score right away. And that was a big turning point of the game.
When it comes to your power play, is there anything that you want to see differently moving forward?
Besides putting the puck in the net, I'm sure there's, we'll evaluate it, we'll look at it. We're at the point where we got to be considering about making some adjustments to it, just because, there's times of every power play is going to go through a stretch of not scoring. And but we've gone 6 games in now, and we're 1 for 15, and I'm not sure we do it right away, but it's certainly something that's on our minds. Did you think through 30 minutes, almost 40, that you might have been on the verge of playing best game of the season, the way you were playing against a high-level competition on the road? I thought definitely in the first half of the game, and they were able to break the puck out a little bit better in the second period, in which we're gaining some momentum for them. We spent a little more time in the defensive zone, but overall, definitely the first half of the game was our strongest. For a defensive side of it, I thought we checked about as well as we could have. And then, maybe there's some frustration of not scoring, but, we got to stick with it.
Stuart Skinner only faced 4 shots in the opening 30 minutes. How difficult is it for him to kind of, really get in the game when there has only been 4 shots?
Yeah, it's tough for a goalie. It's tough for, positional players. Some of the guys that go long stretches without having a shift. If there's games where there's a lot of power plays, penalty kills, those guys who aren't on those situations sit there for a while. And same situation for a goaltender, except the goaltender is obviously more important. And, it's something that, they have to stick with, and nothing that, him not getting shots is a reason that there was any bad goals. In my opinion, there was no bad goals. It's, I think Stu has been able to stay focused from what I remember last year and tonight too. And, that's yeah, just something that happens.
There you go. This Chris Noblock following his team's 4-1 loss to the Dallas Stars. And a couple of interesting things there. I thought, well, first of all, that's two people now that agree with me on the turning point being the first Duchesne goal.
Yeah.
A 50-goal scorer and the head coach. Maybe I'm just kidding.
No, it's not your first rodeo.
It's not my first rodeo, even though I'm not a cowboy. Thank you for pointing that out, though.
Not
I
your
appreciate
first
that.
rodeo.
You're a good friend.
I do like the point that he made about they may have to switch up something on the
Yes.
power play. They may have to bring in, like a Jeff Skinner on the first unit.
I'm surprised to hear that.
I think they have to do that. It's become stale a little bit. Change. You know what? Every coach talks about you earn your ice time. You got to earn your ice time, and I know Brad says that got to keep it as it. But if you're not getting things done on the PP,
Yep.
then you got to bring someone else and give them an opportunity, right? Like Ryan Nugent-Hopkins isn't getting it done. Zach Hyman is struggling. Bring someone. Obviously, you keep your those three guys there. You keep McDavid, Draisaitl, and Bouchard. But maybe you play around with those other two positions. Maybe you give other guys an opportunity to get on that top unit power play, just to give it some spark, give it a bit of life, get a little change, a little bit, get a different look, a different vibe. And I'd like to see Jeff Skinner on the power play. This guy's a guy that can score 40 goals for you. So
yeah.
So
that was notable. He said, quote, making adjustments to power play needs to be considered. He also said, maybe not right away. So he's given another opportunity to power play one to wake up. But I thought, if anything, and people have been asking about this and talking about it, I thought he would maybe just give power play two more of an opportunity before resorting to actually switching up the personnel.
Well, I'm pretty sure he's told power play one, you guys get a minute and 20 seconds, give the other guys 40 seconds, and those guys just stay out there. They're just and if they're in the zone, they're not going to come out, right? Obviously. So I think if they're in the zone, they're set up, they're going to stay out there because they're staying out there for the whole time. They're giving power play to 10 seconds. That's just the way it is. But I would like to see maybe just move some of those pieces around because they have that luxury now. They don't have to have the same guys on the power play. They have the luxury of other guys that can score goals, other guys that can be effective in those roles, and you can move them in and out and kind of move things around. And when you have that luxury, you use it. I think you use it. So
don't waste it.
Yeah, don't waste it. So I think he's obviously leaning in that direction. So if they start pitching shutouts on the power play for the next two games, I might be seeing some changes.
Speaking of the power play, Jerry out of Mississauga says, I don't understand why everyone wants to change the power play after 6 games. This has been the best power play for the last 2 seasons. I don't understand why when something goes bad, quickly change it up. Let them work through it, and they will eventually figure it out. This power play unit has chemistry and knows each other well. Also, teams have figured out how to play against the Oilers power play. They will adapt. Give it time, says Jerry out of Mississauga. And you heard Brad Malone earlier, our game analyst, talking about how the penalty kills are working against the Oilers power play right now, and they have the advantage in the system that they're incorporating. So it's interesting that, and we'll see how it goes. But to hear Chris Noblock actually just say it publicly, we might have to consider a change on the personnel. I thought we would have to wait a little bit for that to happen, but he also added, not necessarily right away. Maybe he gives the team another game.
Yeah, no, but he's obviously seeing what everyone else is seeing, that it's not working right now. And
clearly.
And I agree with that, the last texter, but eventually he's not on the clock. If you got to get, that's, when you were taking out the garbage when you're a kid and you're like, well, when are you going to get to the garbage eventually? Eventually it's not on the clock. Get it done. Get it done type thing. So I'm just saying.
Well said. Let's get to the Damon Bunting Remax Elite Player of the Game with Hernan Salas. Damon Bunting, consistent, top-producing realtor in Greater Edmonton and among Western Canadian Remax realtors. He and his team would love to help you find that right home or make the move from your current home. He is community-driven, and he does understand what it takes to make a difference in our city. Check him out, DamonBunting.com, or visit his Instagram at Damon Bunting Real Estate. Nanso, who is the Damon Bunting Remax Elite Player of the Game?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Zach Hyman, 21 minutes of ice time. He had 4 shots on net, 1 block shot. I thought he was around there. I thought it was his best game of the season. A lot of forwards were good in this game, but the production wasn't there. So I think Zach Hyman deserved it, and I think he finally stepped up. He had a glorious chance in front of the net that Ottinger made a great play on, and I think this is a good sign for the Oilers because he's finding his groove, and that can only be a good thing. So for me, Zach Hyman, who's been kind of MIA in the first 5 games here, really showed up today. He just couldn't get off the schneid with any points, but he was really good. 21 time on ice, 4 shots on net, 1 block shot.
Nicely done. That is your Damon Bunting Remax League Player of the Game with Hernan Salas. Zach Hyman still looking to get off the schneid, but it's going in the right direction. X-Ray J loved what Bugsy had to say tonight, all those things, and a timely save or two, talking about Stu Skinner. This one says, TG, can you ask Brad about Emerson's game? Brad's not here. I didn't get to it. I'm sorry. But what did you think of Ty Emerson? He had that big hit on Dodonov today.
I think he's getting better. Like, this is he comes in here and he's a guy that he had to kind of feel his way in. He's playing against a team that he's playing with a team that went to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. You talk about a difference playing with San Jose last year, where they just went out there and there's no expectations, no nothing. And now he's coming here to a team that's expected to win the Stanley Cup, not just get to the Stanley Cup, but win the Stanley Cup. But I think he was better, and I think it's gonna take him a while to find his kind of niche there and his groove. But yeah, he showed some physicality today, and he still made some mistakes. There's a couple of giveaways that I didn't like.
He got crossed up with Stu Skinner. You saw them.
Yeah, they were talking about it. Yeah,
but you could see them having that.
They're having a conversation. So that's going to happen. But I think he's getting better. And it's just, as a young guy, he's only had 30 games when he came in here.
This was his 30.
He hasn't played a lot of hockey, and there's a general rule that they say that it takes about 200 games for a defenseman to kind of see who he is. Yeah. And you saw that with Nurse. You saw that with Bouchard. Yeah. You've seen that with a lot of defensemen, that it takes some time for them to really find themselves in the league. And if you're looking at 200 games, this guy's played 35. So it's a long way to go before he becomes one of those, high-rated defensemen.
Well said, DVD. Good reminder as well. Uncle Dave texting in from Cumberland, BC goes, here's a theory for you. What if a condition of Dry's new contract was for management to focus exclusively on forward depth to allow him and McDavid to be permanently on the same line? He definitely seems more pissy when they're separated. Haha. Perhaps this is the Oilers' top line for the season. Uncle Dave texting in from Cumberland, BC. Call it a hunch, Uncle Dave. Texting in from Cumberland, BC. I don't think there's a clause like that.
There's probably not, but I think he likes the fact that there's more depth and they can play together. And they're playing together, and you don't see a terrible drop off in the second and third and fourth lines. Like before, if they played together, it's a one-line team, right? For a long time, it was a one-line team if they played together. Now it's not. Now they have. I like Arvidsson's game a lot. I think he's tenacious. He's a dog on a bone. Yeah. I think Jeff Skinner's coming around. I think Adam Henrique's gonna have to come around. I do like a lot of things about this team. Podkolzin, I think he's a good player, and he's getting a chance to play. He didn't get a chance to play in Vancouver after that first year. So I think those guys are coming around. They do have the depth, but yeah, when you have the depth and you have that luxury of playing those two guys together. So you like that. And the pissy comment is kind of funny because I was talking about, I don't know if you've seen the Amazon documentary. It's a great documentary.
I've seen episode 5. I have to watch
Okay, you have to watch episode 6. Yeah. Leon is going to a signing. He's in the car and he says, you know what? A lot of people think I'm grumpy, and I kind of am grumpy. If he had used the word pissy, I would have laughed my ass off. And I'm going to have to ask him about that, because why didn't you use the word pissy instead of grumpy in that documentary? Because that would have been awesome.
Oh, boy.
That would have been awesome. I would have laughed so hard. It's obviously an inside thing, but that would have been awesome.
And we say that as friends of Jim Matheson.
Yes, we love Jim, yes. But I just think it would have been awesome. It would have said, oh, yeah, I just take this lighthearted. Everyone thinks I'm grumpy. I am. And he admitted it. I am grumpy. Sure. Sometimes he's grumpy. I don't know why he'd be grumpy making $14 million a year. Listen, I'd be the nicest person in the world. I'm a nice guy.
You are a nice guy.
You give me $14 million a year, I'm the nicest guy in the world.
Listen, in 10 years of Leon Draisaitl, as ornery as he can be at times, especially outwardly when he has to do media, my general experiences with him have been very positive.
No, Leon outside, like if you get him away from the cameras, he's really, really good. He's got that dry German sense of humor. Like it's really, really good. Like he's a great guy. It's just sometimes I just don't think he feels too comfortable in front of the camera sometimes. But if you get the opportunity to pull him aside and talk to him,
he's great.
He's really, really good.
Yep. Okay, we got a couple more minutes. Text us 780-218-9999. Get in the nasty chat. My nasty chat froze up on me. If Hernan sees anything, he'll pluck some comments out of there. The Oilers lose 4-1 to the Dallas Stars, 2-4 on the season, returning home for a 2-gamer starting on Tuesday night against the Carolina Hurricanes. They wrap it up against Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, and the Milestone Boys with the Pittsburgh Penguins on Friday. Louis texting in says, that's a bad goal on Skinner. Come on, guys. Inside the top of the circles. He has all day. Goal scorer from home plate. Awful loss on the draw by Nugent Hopkins. Brad Malone, who's our game analyst, talking about right shot centerman on the strong side, taking the face off. They need one of those. All they have is Derek Ryan right now, and they didn't put him out there.
Yeah, they didn't put him out there. Yep, you're right. That's a good point. You lose a draw clean, comes back, the guy in the slot, and that's what happens sometimes.
Yeah. Let's go to this one out of Calgary. Says, was just looking at some stats, and Broberg has played 5 games and has 5 points. So glad they let him walk. He's on pace for 82 points.
I don't know. Is he worth $4 million a year though?
Give it more time. It's still pretty early, but I think eventually he will definitely be worth it.
Yeah.
Another one from Scalding Gord says, will this Oilers power play adapt? They have been stubborn in the past, trying to force the play that they want. They have the skill to usually make it work, but that lack of change may finally be figured out somewhat. We're on board with you there, Scalding Gord. All right, let's go to Hernan Salas one last time. Nanso, any nasty chat comments you want to get to? Some final thoughts from you?
No, just a lot of hate for Stewie Skins, as you can imagine. And now the Broberg messages are coming in. And, yeah, he's a point per game, but let's pump the brakes just a little bit. Unless you've watched him every game, you can't really say. Points could be deceiving.
What did you say about the St. Louis Blues defensive game, and in the comments you were noticing about that?
Everybody was complaining, like St. Louis fans are complaining about their defensive play, like from their D-core. So, yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, could the Oilers use Broberg? Sure, 100% they could, but let's pump the brakes. I know the points seem sexy, and everybody gets all riled up about it, and he's got a point per game right now and all that. But for me, a defenseman is there to defend. And until I hear from someone in St. Louis tell me that he's been really good defensively, then I'm going to be a little bit cautious about what's going on down there. And if you look at Holloway, started on the first line, demoted to the third line already. He has 1 point in 6 games. So not saying he's not going to be a good player, because I think he will. But I think the expectations for Dylan Holloway here in Edmonton were a little overblown. I think he's more suited for a third-line guy. Maybe he can moonlight in the second, but he's not a top-line guy, guys. And, yeah, it hurts. It sucks that you lost 2 young guys that you put some time into for sure. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. The Oilers would still be 2-4. I don't think those guys make that much of an impact on the Oilers team. If they were here, they'd still be 2-4. And unfortunate, because the guys played really well for 2 periods. Like you said, Tommy, 39 minutes there. Unfortunate, but they need to find their game. They need to find their groove for more than 2 games. This team is far too talented to be sitting where they are. And you look at a team like Nashville, who brought in some big names, and they sit at 0-5. You look at Colorado, who's at 1-4. So a lot of the big dogs are struggling early on, and the Oilers need to find their groove. They can't keep going this way, winning 2, losing 3, and all that. Because I'm here to tell you that last year, yes, it was great, the 16-game win streak after a terrible start. That's not going to happen again. If you think it's going to go exactly as it did last year, you're fooling yourself. So the Oilers need a little bit more from all their guys, and we'll see you guys on Tuesday for Carolina. I'd like to look at Carolina's games here in Edmonton. I think they've won at least the last 3-4.
I can look it up right now. Would you like me to?
Sure, because I know Carolina owns the Oilers in Carolina. They might own the Oilers in general, but...
Well, let's take a look. I have it here. If this damn computer loads it.
They might have won 1 game in between, but...
Oh, I thought I had it.
You know, it's funny because Carolina's in that so-called championship window as well. But
I think they've been in it longer, DVD.
Yeah, they just haven't. I think their window's closing pretty quickly, and I don't like. I'm not a huge analytics guy, and I don't like they're going hardcore analytics right now, and to me that never works out. It hasn't worked out in Buffalo. Hasn't worked out in a lot of places.
You bring up the analytics, and thank you. And Carolina's always been one of the top teams in analytics. They haven't won squat.
Well, yeah, because their coach is not an analytics guy. You get Rod Brindamore, he could care less about numbers.
Their GM and assistant GM are all analytics.
They're both analytics. I want to see how that works over there.
Same way.
They got rid of the one analytics guy.
The analytics.
Well, he's the assistant GM in Carolina.
I know, but they got rid of him in Jersey because it wasn't working. So it's just
let's talk about that record. Let's just leave it alone.
We'll leave it for another day.
I have another thing. Someone tried to convince me that Holloway's going to get outscored Jeff Skinner this year. That's not going to happen.
I don't.
And I have a bet with a certain Hall of Famer that Skinner will get 30 goals. I think that's going to happen. I always win my bets with the LA. Remember? I won my bets with Bob. I won my bets with Jack.
Yes. He paid you in quarters.
Bob paid me in quarters, by the way. All right, when I won the bet on him.
We'll wrap it up with
Jack took me out for dinner. So
yes, he did. There was a text that said, "I love that shot at Bob from Brad Malone. Well played, Bugsy." And then,
I guess we're not the only ones he's been telling that he's going to be a management guy soon. So he's going to be our bosses.
Tommy, what's the record against Carolina?
It's not loading. I had it ready to go, but it's not loading. That means it's time for us to go. And then there was another text. Ryan from Saskatchewan said DVD is great too on the pre and post game.
Yeah, very affordable
versatile
too. Apparently,
just get this guy a beer. You got a 6 o'clock or lager.
We're good.
Hey, cheers, DVD.
Cheers.
Happy Saturday. Thank you for joining us.
Yes.
Cheers to everybody who watched and listened on iHeartRadio, TuneIn, EdmontonSportsTalk.com, of course, Apple Music. And then to anybody who's going to listen to this in podcast form, maybe on Sunday, Monday, we appreciate you. And then all of those in the Nasty Chat on YouTube. Thank you for watching. Great stuff from Brad Malone tonight. A really, really nice insight into the organization from a guy who just hung them up. Good stuff from Nanso. Good stuff from DVD. Everybody, have yourselves a wonderful rest of your weekend. The Oilers fall 4-1 to the Dallas Stars. We are back on Tuesday for the GCL Diesel Oil Stream pregame show as the Oil kick off a 2-game homestand, starting with the Carolina Hurricanes. That does it for the postgame show. Have a fantastic weekend. For Hernan, for DVD, for Bugsy, I'm Tom Gazzola saying ciao for now.